You are now listening to Extra Time with Dan and Chris from the Sportsheads. Gotta love a little extra time.
Welcome, guys, to another episode of the Extra Time with your boys Chris and Dan from the Sportshead. How are you doing, Chris?
Good, man. Can't complain. It's raining outside right now, but I'm glad to be on the Extra Time, chopping it up with my boy Dan. Feel good. Lots been going on the last couple weeks, man. New shows. We're growing.
That's good, mate. Yeah, mate. It's just it's been a busy week, but I'm glad that NFL was back. Kind of stayed up real late, maybe 5 o'clock in the morning for it. So I wasn't my body wasn't too happy with me this morning. But other than that, can't really complain. For myself, it's been a great weekend. So on that note, we'll talk about the game of the week. Sunday night football, the Patriots versus at Seattle. Now, obviously, everyone who listens knows that I'm a Seattle Seahawks fan, big Seattle Seahawks fan. It was a good result. We ended up with the win, stopped Cam on the goal line, which I was had a bit of a mini heart attack as they were coming down the field. I didn't think we were going to be able to stop Cam the way he was playing. He was playing phenomenal, actually, even though he lost. Now, my concern or my takeaway is two things or three things. The first thing is Seattle have no pass rushers. They need some pass rushers on their defensive line there. The amount of pressure that Cam had was non-existent virtually. The second point for me was Seattle. Russell Wilson looks like the MVP. I mean, he only had 6 incomplete passes. The last game was 4 incomplete passes. That is impressive. Back-to-back drives of 4+ touchdowns. Back-to-back drives of just driving his team, winning his team, performing at an absolute phenomenal level. He gave us a virtuoso. Like I keep saying, the Michelin star restaurant chef, that was what Russell was on that pitch on Sunday night. He basically he's covering up the blemishes. He is covering up Seattle's blemishes. And the third point is actually Cam Newton. Cam played extremely well. He actually passed a lot more than they ran in their first game. Julian Edelman went deep. It was actually, they spread the ball a little bit better. So I was actually quite pleasantly surprised with the game, with the results. I felt that with Cam, the way they played week 1, it was stupid of me to assume that they were going to do that all the time. This is Bill Belichick. He's not predictable. He changed things up. So yeah, they looked really good. Cam looked really good. He's got his zip back for his throw. His shoulder looks healthy. Like he looks like he's in a great place. And for me, it's the Patriots division to lose. I know they've got the most difficult schedule on their sort of roster compared to everyone else in their division. But it's the Patriots look because had they not stopped them, Cam. Look, he drove his team down. His team down when it mattered the most. So that was really good. So I was impressed by that. I mean, Chris, what was your takeaway on the whole Seattle Patriots game on Sunday?
First of all, I thought it was an amazing game to watch. I'm thinking these games around here are very good, especially with no preseason. In terms of the entertainment level, very high value. I give it 5 stars in terms of the Sunday night broadcast and the game. Now, breaking down the game, I'm talking about the Patriots first. Cam Newton looked very, very good. He seems to be very comfortable in his offense, and it seems like Josh McDaniels is using him as a switch army knife that he knew that he has. I believe that Bill Belichick had something I know he couldn't control Russell Wilson, especially with his comments that he had earlier in the week, saying that he doesn't feel like there's anything that Russell can't do. And obviously, I don't know if he was playing chess a little bit. Bill Belichick likes to, he likes to play those little mind games. And I feel that the Patriots are actually showed why they are the team that I felt that they would be in this season in terms of winning the division, because they are always going to have a game plan for the team, even doesn't matter how good they are. Now, I don't know who you think the Patriots are going to face this year that is as good as how Russell Wilson played. 5 touchdowns, over 300 yards passing, 5 touchdowns to 5 different receivers. So he's spreading the Russell was, like you said, Russell was cooking, And it came down to the Patriots at the 2-yard line, which I felt was probably the one mistake that I figured that Josh McDaniels wish he can take back, because it was a play that they ran numerous times, and Seattle had already settled in and they were going to give in, and they kind of ran the other options out of that same formation. So Seattle, I think, was ready for a goal line dive from the 2-yard line, which Cam was running all day and he was tired. So I felt that particular play, I think they should have opened it up and probably gave Cam a lot more options. But for it to come down to that play, I think the Patriots are in a very, very good position, first of all. So that's why I feel that they still will win the division. And obviously we saw what the Jets did and the Dolphins did, and the Bills are still right there. But the Bills are leading the division at the moment, but I do feel that the Patriots will win. In terms of Russell Wilson and these boys, this is the reason why I picked him as MVP. He was maneuvering. He was in and out of the defense. He was finding his targets. DK Metcalf is a star coming. Obviously, his veteran wide receivers were just getting open for him. And I think Russell Wilson is primed to have that MVP season. He knows what's at stake for him and his legacy. I think he's one of those players that feels those things are very important to him. Obviously, he wants to win another Super Bowl, but he doesn't have that MVP. And the way he is starting this season, 10 incomplete passes now? His passer rating must be out the roof. Is out the roof, and he's obviously the MVP right now. He's playing lights out versus in the first 2 weeks. And there's nothing that we can say that's going to stop my statement right now that he is going to be the MVP of the league, brother.
Oh, we'll see. No, I mean, picking up on that with the Patriots, I think the only team in their schedule that I worry about is the Chiefs. The 49ers, Garoppolo's out, Nick Bosa's out. They're having injuries upon injuries upon injuries. And we will talk about the injuries actually in tomorrow's episode of the Hurry Up. So make sure you guys tune to that so you can hear also Andre's and Sam's thoughts on that as well. But yeah, look, it's gonna be interesting. Look, the only reason why I didn't pick Russell for my MVP, 2 reasons. I didn't want to sort of seem like I was picking a homer pick and everyone's going to go for Russell, so I wanted to be a little bit different. And secondly, I just felt, look, with Deshaun losing D-Hop, if he was to win that division, given how good the Colts are, given how solid the Titans are, he would have to play at an MVP level. Now, he's lost 2 games already. So, but they are against 2 of the best teams in the AFC, so we'll see how they bounce back. I'm not entirely sure about that, but for me, I'm a bit concerned with the Texans and Deshaun Watson. I think his talent is being wasted and squandered in the Texans organization with that joke of a GM / head coach. His name shall not be repeated out of my mouth in this episode. But yeah, so for me, it's one of those situations that I'm not entirely confident on. I like Deshaun, like I said, he's my boy. I want to see the best for him and want to see him succeed. But I'm speechless. Houston is they have a lot of issues across the board. Yeah,
so in watching that game with Deshaun, since that was your MVP pick, so we'll talk about him a little bit. Deshaun himself is good. He's good. Like in terms of his placement, how he looks and his comfort. He looks fine, but what happens is as the game grows, and especially with what we will see, because he wants to possibly see these 2 teams he played first in these first 2 games later down the line. I mean, that's the goal, is to possibly see these 2 teams in the playoffs, because we know they'll be there. Is that he wants to see how he matches up against them, and the biggest takeaway I got from it is this is the first time in a long time I've seen a quarterback have to do everything. You understand what I'm saying? Usually that's in college football. But this is the first time in the NFL in a long time that you see an MVP caliber player have no weapons, like nobody that he can trust and go to, let's say 10 times. He doesn't have a tight end that can take up the space of the linebacker that he can target like a old school Jimmy Graham or a Kittle or so on and so forth. His big deep threat is gone. I know Brandon Cooks is a nice little pickup, but that's not a threat for a lot of defenses on every play. Like he doesn't put pressure on the defense like a Tyreek Hill per se, So I see him, especially in these first 2 games. Maybe what I'm hoping is that it grows him a little bit a fight, like armor, it sharpens him a bit because he's gonna have to fight for this team a lot. What I saw him in terms of the other day when he threw the interception yesterday, late in the game, is somebody trying to force things down the field. Somebody trying to make a play. He can't run every play, gonna get hurt. Just signed a big contract, but he doesn't have the weapons around him that he can go to in critical moments to keep the game alive and to keep them winning. And so he can't make up for mistakes. If he throws an interception or they have a bad drive or so on and so forth, they have a quick 3 and out, that could be the end of the game. So I think the Texans understand that they don't have power to fight back. So they're either going to have to play ahead. They're going to have to keep the ball. They're going to have to use the run game and play like that old school, slow down, drag out type of football, because they do have a good offensive line.
No, they don't, mate. I'm sorry. No, they don't. That offensive line has given up so much pressures and hits on Deshaun Watson. That offensive line is shocking. They need to improve the offensive line. It is shocking.
But understand this. If no one is separating and you can't get the ball out in your 2.5 type seconds that you want to, because you have to hold the ball and you got to keep looking, of course you're going to give up sacks. This isn't like I'm not going to kill the line like that. Like as soon as he hikes the ball, there's people flying through, and not like he can't get, obviously this is a team game. I was looking at the game, the secondary can't get no separation, bro. Every play is 4, 5, 6 seconds of him in the pocket because no one can get open. Any quarterback would get sacked. I don't care if you got the Bills offensive line, like anyone, it'd be terrible. Like, that's my problem with them. His weapons can get separation. He doesn't trust anyone there, so he's going to start forcing things, and it's going to be trouble for him going down the stretch, because then that's when interceptions happen. That's when injuries happen, where you're forcing things, and I don't want that to happen to him. They should have never gotten rid of D-Hop, and they should have added more pieces. And I
agree with that. I definitely agree. D-Hop, for what they got out of that trade, it makes no sense. Bill O'Brien was saying, sorry, I said his name, guys. Apologies. That gremlin came out and said basically, he was too expensive and whatnot. And I get that, but he still had 2 years, I believe, on his contract. You could have still waited for a year, and then you still could have franchised him. So, you could have played around with things. And Diop isn't the kind of guy who's going to hold out, particularly with his boy Deshaun trying to, win stuff. So, yeah, what they got out of it, I agree. It was shocking. It was poor. It just wasn't. Again, he's not a great GM, and I don't even think he's a great coach, to be fair. So, we'll see what happens like that. Sorry, guys, for using the word gremlin on that. Didn't mean it like that, but, he's not. I'm not the biggest fan of Bill O'Brien. So, Chris, give us what out of all the games you saw, for the people listening at home, what was your highlight?
What game stood out to me the most? Jesus, it did catch me off guard a little bit, because there was a lot of good games. I know Sunday night was sweet, but boom. Cowboys. There we go. That game right there. The Atlanta game and the Cowboy game was crazy. I thought we were gonna be on here clowning the Cowboys again of how they have a super team. I thought I was gonna have to eat my words about I like how Mike McCarthy's in there and it's gonna change the culture and these particular things. I was kind of giving the Cowboys a bit of life, and I'm not gonna lie to you, that first half I was like, man, I'm gonna have to go eat my words, and I'm gonna have to go to Dan and talk about how Roethlisberger probably is a better pick, but that boy Dak Prescott started to turn it on, and obviously Atlanta helped the Cowboys a whole lot. It seemed like the Super Bowl debacle all over again. And it seems like Atlanta, as soon as they start losing momentum, they lose the game. And the Cowboys just started pouring it on. And that onside kick, it seemed like the Atlanta players didn't know the rules or something. Like, they can dive on the ball. It's the Cowboys that have to wait 10 yards. And they all just looked at the ball like hot potato, like they don't want to touch it. And obviously when you saw that, I was like, oh, they're going to win this game here, man. And CeeDee Lamb showed up. But that boy Dak Prescott, remember Remember you said you'll take Ben Roethlisberger over Dak Prescott. Now that
Yes, I wanted to address that. Of course, I'll still take Big Ben. Anyone who's listening, please send Chris to the sort of like a straitjacket, because my dude has said he will take Dak Prescott over Big Ben, and Big Ben has come in. He's looked decent. He's going to get into a bit of form. For me, that is the highlight of the weekend. For me, anyone who hasn't seen it, particularly any of our UK listeners, make sure you check it out. Check the highlights. It was a fantastic game and thrilling game. Look, it was back and forth. The Falcons dominated the first half. Cowboys came back. Do I think that was based on Dak? Not so much. I think one is based on the running game. I think they're 22-4 whenever Zeke's had over 100 rushing yards. So again, that speaks volumes to sort of Zeke and his ability to sort of eat up the clock, eat up the game, eat up the yards, and just as he's putting his little tattoo on his body, feed me. Moi, all I'm saying is also on a side note, if you put that feed me on your belly, you're not planning to have a six-pack when you're 60. That's not going to age well, personally, for me. You know what I mean? That personally is going to age well, in my opinion. You know what I mean? When you get that bare belly, and then your kids or grandkids look like, oh, granddad, feed me. Yeah, maybe you shouldn't be fed. You know what I mean? But for now, it looks decent. So yeah, going back to that with the Cowboys game, I think it speaks less on Dak's ability and more on the Falcons. This is the second time they've gone and basically squandered a big lead. They were 29-10 at the half. The same thing with Super Bowl. They were 28-3, and I think that was going into the fourth quarter, I believe, or at least midway third quarter. So even that was less time, and they've squandered it. So for me personally, I think Dan Quinn's time is up in Atlanta. I haven't seen much from him to justify him staying. Ever since they had the Super Bowl run, Matt Ryan had the MVP season. You can attribute that maybe potentially to Kyle Shanahan, as he was the offensive coach. Who knows? But since then, they've been poor. Their defense has been porous. Their record hasn't been great. They're in a division where really and truly it's only really been the Saints. So they could have done more in that division. Dan Quinn, I think, sometimes your time's up in a particular team. And I think his time's up. He's done what he can. He's got them to the Super Bowl. He's not going to get them again to the Super Bowl again, in my opinion. And that's it.
450 yards, 4 touchdowns. 3 of them rushing. You say Ben Roethlisberger? Are you serious?
We'll get to that another time. Don't worry. We'll discuss that again. We'll discuss that topic again, probably next week.
450 yards, 3 rushing touchdowns, and you're going to tell me you're going to pick Ben Roethlisberger right now over Dak Prescott? I will forever hold that.
Please hold that. Please hold that. Moving on to the NBA. So sweetly but lastly, we have the Clippers. Not Clippers, sorry. Obviously, the Clippers came out.
Oh, yeah. You see, I know who you wanted in there. We know who you wanted in there.
Yeah. So we have the Lakers versus the Nuggets. Now, the Lakers have taken a 2-0 lead up against the Nuggets. AD getting that game buzzer winner to sort of close out the game. Sort of mentioning sort of Kobe. Anyone who hasn't seen this sort of video after of how he tried to bump the dude and the dude fell down so hard. Was funny. Please check that out. But Chris, going to you, obviously as a big basketball fan, what's your take from the series so far? Do you think Lakers are going to sweep? Do you think the Nuggets can come back? What's your overall take?
So my take from this past game was that obviously it was a tight game. The Lakers was holding the lead throughout the whole game, pretty much until about the last 4 minutes when Jokic said, "All right, enough," and he scored the last 11 for the Nuggets until they had that 103-102 lead. And what I saw after that, obviously, is somebody on the Lakers wanting the big play, other than LeBron James. Somebody wanting to take that shot, and Anthony Davis kind of growing in that space. I feel that the look in his eyes, the way he took that shot, it was a confident shot, and he wanted that shot. And like he said after the game, the play was for LeBron, but he said he was looking at Rondo the whole time like, bruh, give me the ball. Which I felt in myself was a bit of an indictment on LeBron, but we'll talk about it on another moment in terms of the heart that we'd say that him or Kobe and Jordan have, but we'll talk about it another time. But AD is growing in that space, and the Lakers need AD to do that and do that consistently for them to win this championship run this year, and obviously moving forward. Now, in terms of are they going to sweep? No, obviously Denver is a very resilient team. They were in that game the whole time until that last play. I don't want to say they figured the Lakers out, but they know that they can play with the Lakers, and if they bring a little bit more energy and possibly do some other things correctly, they can possibly take a couple of games. And I don't think that they're going to fall into a 3-1 hole. There's a chance that they'll win the next game, and this series will be tighter. I do have the Lakers winning possibly in 6-7 if Denver really, really attacks. But obviously they're up 2-1, and for the Denver to win 4 out of 5, I think that's a bit tough. I know they've been resilient all playoff, but that can wane on you now when you're going up against a team that has a quest for a championship as well. So I don't have the Lakers blowing them out. I don't think it's going to be a sweep. I think Denver is very resilient, so it will be hard pressed for me to say the Lakers are just going to sweep them out of here and they're not going to have a response.
Yeah, so for me, I think it's going to be interesting. I think the Nuggets will fight back. I think you're going to see a fight back. I think the Nuggets will at least take 2 games. I don't know if it will go to 7, but I think they will take 2 games. I think it will go to 6, and I see the Lakers winning 4-2. But I think the Nuggets will come back and win 2 games. They've got the track record of coming back from 3-1 down. So I think for me, the Nuggets are just a slow starter when it comes to the playoffs, when it comes to the series. So they're going to come back and push the Lakers. But I think overall, I think that's gonna be an interesting battle. I think long term in the championship, the team from the East that's going to affect them really is going to be Miami. I think Miami's going to give them problems. But I think that's about it really. I think it's just sort of, it really is now the Lakers' title to lose. But saying that, you don't want to sort of say that hypothetically and it not turn out. So it's gonna be an interesting battle for this week, and we'll see. But I think the Nuggets will either take game 3 or game 4 for sure, and we'll take one more game as well. So we'll see. So yeah, Chris, thanks for taking the time to be on the show. Guys, I hope you enjoyed the show, and I hope you guys loved listening to us and our take as well. Remember, Chris has said he'll take Dak over Big Ben. So remember that.
I said it loud, very loud.
I'm just saying, I'm just reminding the audience so that they can at Chris if you want to sort of directly message Chris and discuss, especially Pittsburgh fans. But yeah, so yeah, thanks for joining us again, guys. Remember to like and subscribe. Tune in to the Mother Show to hurry up this week as we discuss NFL injuries. We talk more about the Cowboys and the Falcons, and more on the on sort of the state of play in the NFL in general. And this week we're also going to be potentially joined by another guest on the show as well. So stay tuned for that. Remember to like, subscribe, and leave comments as well.
Thank you for listening to Extra Time. Please remember to subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts at The Sportsheads for all things U.S. sports.